What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of EventMASTERS. And in this episode, we got a special guest, and she's one of our Event Next speakers. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the show. EventMASTERS. You need to listen to this if you want to throw bigger and better events. Learn how to monetize and land bigger racks. Yeah, this is where you can learn how to do that. EventMASTERS.
Welcome to episode 10 of EventMASTERS. I'm your host, Dylan Shinholser, and alongside of me, got it wrong, whatever, Patrick VanDusen. What's up, man? We missed you last episode.
Yeah, I apologize about that. But I'm back now. Episode number 10. We made 10. It to the big 1-0.
This is a milestone. This is a milestone. And we have one of our most famous guests that's never appeared on the show today. So I'm excited about that. But before we get into that, of course, we got to go through that whole housekeeping thing where I got to politely ask you guys to like, subscribe, and follow us on all social medias at EventMASTERS Show. And then go download the podcast on Spotify and Apple so that we can get ranked and we can, get this out to more people. So, and go ahead and share it with your friends. We are officially live for episode 10. So, with that being said, housekeeping's out of the way. We can get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is neither Patrick or I. We have a lovely friend who we have known for a little while now. She's connected us with a bunch of people, and she's been a very valuable human in our network. So we're excited. We've talked about her a lot on this show. So without further ado, I will let her introduce herself. But welcome,
Hello.
Michelle. How are you?
Hi. Oh, I am very excited to be on your podcast, your show. Yes, I am Nicole McNabb, the owner, founder of M&E Marketing and Events.
Yeah. So so let's before we get into what we're going to be talking about today and Event Next and all of that, knowing that you're one of our speakers, let's talk about you. How did you get here? Like, how did you know events were your gig? How did you get here?
Okay, I'm going to sum up 14 years in about 1 minute.
That'll
go. Here we go. So I knew even back in high school that events were my thing. But what I knew back then and going into college, I graduated from Penn State, was who needs to be where and when, what needs to be where, how does it get there? And those are really the logistics of events. And so over the past decade, I really have shifted from not only the logistics of putting on events and being the host of events and helping the organizers of events, but shifting through, I actually ran a B2B marketing division. And that was really the big shift as to why do businesses leverage events. So working with sponsors and exhibitors and vendors, and these are not only the host of events, but shifting using events as a platform. And so I like to say platforms and tactics, they come and go, but events truly have shown the test of time. And so through my years of going from logistics and what time does coffee come out and what does the agenda look like, right? It's now a matter of project management to people management, but then what's the ROI and what's going to keep those businesses leveraging events rather than reallocating some of those time, budget, and their resources into other platforms. And so I was doing this actually in the mortgage industry. And I did not.
That's exciting.
What a transition.
Wow.
I actually still have mortgage clients. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because what inspired M&E Marketing and Events was going from that logistical into supporting the marketing and sales teams and leveraging. And I just didn't want to get stuck in the mortgage industry. And I saw the gap of understanding what it takes to go into events and supporting and now partnering with logistics and really representing and being an advocate and a voice to leverage and get the most bang for your buck on the other side of the table. So that was really my transition, and that's really what we're here to represent. We still understand the importance of logistics, but that's what this episode really is all about. And what I like to really emphasize is what goes beyond the logistics to make events effective.
Yeah, and literally speaking of, I know that's your exact topic at Event Next, correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So for those of you who maybe have not heard about Event Next yet, Michelle is one of our speakers at Event Next. So she will be dropping, we're going to touch on a lot of it, and literally we're going to go right into it. And I know she focuses around 3 keys and 3 key strategies and stuff. So we're going to literally go line item right through those and touch on every area of that. So let's just start there, Michelle. I think that's a really good segue. And the starting point is you have 3 keys. What's that number one that I'm looking at right now? What's the number one key to how you kind of run this thing and run your business?
Yeah, and I hit on it slightly, but it really is justifying events and the ROI for using events as a platform and really helping companies convert from a business expense into a business investment. So justifying that ROI using events.
Yeah. So how does a business justify it? Because look, I think all of us on this call, either some of us are learning this now, and then we all know it. Events are expensive, especially to do them. Like they cost money, a lot of
people underestimate them, which is even more.
Which is even worse. Yeah, you start like, okay, I could do this for 20, and then all of a sudden it's like 72, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. So how can you and how can a business talk themselves into justifying that expense? Where are they going to get that ROI?
Yeah, a couple key points here, and of course that's what the Event Next is for. So I like giving little teasers. We're going to deep dive on some of these talking points, but one of my key things that I start with is you do not have to be the host to reap the benefits of events. That is talking point number 1. And Dylan, you and I, we talk about this a lot, Patrick, you and I, where absolutely people think, oh, I need to be the host. I need to put on this event and be the organizer, which absolutely, we need our hosts, we need our organizers, but there is this fine line. You do not have to be the host. And so how can we become a stakeholder? Does that mean we can be a speaker, a thought leader, take advantage of sponsorship opportunities and use that event as a platform? No different than LinkedIn is a platform, a podcast, a showcase. Those are all platforms. So how can we connect with the right organizers and leverage those stages, whether it be a roundtable or a trade show booth or an opportunity to showcase and get into new markets? So number 1 is, what is your role? Understanding that there's other ways to utilize events rather than putting on your own event, especially if you're just getting started leveraging events. Number 2 would be understanding the right formats. I specialize really in the B2B events. And so you have conferences, you have roundtables, you have summits, you have festivals and music festivals and retreats and weddings. And there's so many different types of events out there. And so honing in how you and your brand, whether it's a personal brand, whether it's a corporation brand, is really understanding the different formats of events. What is worth your time, money, resources, and the skill sets? Do you have those team members on hand, and how can you best leverage? So I have some clients, they serve Amazon, PayPal. I don't serve Amazon, PayPal. My clients, those executives, they show up best when they can participate in roundtable discussions. They don't want to spend the time and facilitate workshops. It's too much. They don't have the bandwidth. They don't necessarily want to be a host, but they will invest dollars, time, money to facilitate roundtable within the right event. So really understanding your positioning and the formatting, those are 2 distinct ways. And then I have some more nuggets that we'll definitely share for Event Next. I know that we have some other talking points, but it comes down to, I call the 7 C's of event ROI. And there are branding objectives, and then there's business objectives. So we can maybe leave those 7 C's in the show notes because we have a lot to talk about. But those really are the ways that we can measure. Why are we using events?
Yeah, no, I like that. That was, and I think one thing I took away from it was understanding who you're working with or who you're for, and understanding what works best for them. We always say that on the show is no matter what it is, the end consumer, in your case, the business that you're working with, what works best for them to get their message out in their sales and their B2B or marketing out. What works best for them? We always talk about that on the show. What works best for your attendees? Like what format is best for them and understanding that. So I'm excited to hold your own event. And that's an interesting one. Yeah, that's an interesting one that I don't think a lot of people actually talk about, is because I'm one of those ones that's over on the other side going, hey, you got to throw your own event. You want to have that authority, you got to throw your own event. You got to be the guy or the girl, right? Or the business.
It's like us, we're throwing our own event.
Yeah. There are those stepping stones to those milestones. And I think people hear that, and that leads into that next overwhelm. Oh my gosh, I have to put on my own event, yet they don't even have their own messaging or what hats they're wearing like mapped out. And that's where utilizing other events absolutely you can then reach those milestones of creating your own event.
Yeah, I like that. So that's number one. So like we said, guys, we're going to hold out on you guys a little bit because Event Next is right around the corner and the tickets are free. So go ahead and click the link and get there. But nonetheless, let's segue into topic and key number 3 or key number 2 out of 3. Yeah. If I can count today.
Jump ahead, Dylan.
Holy cow.
Yes. Well, and this actually segues really nicely in what you as a show really advocate for. And that's why there's a lot of synergies in what I represent and what I talk about, and then what ViewStub has to offer. And that's really cutting through the overwhelm, but at the same time, not underestimating what goes into events. So that, I mean, I could talk on that. There's definitely a whole segment on that, but it really comes down to, like you mentioned, so much overwhelm. And we're not just talking the technology and the shifts of going from in-person and hybrid and the terminology and where do we position ourselves in the industry. And there's a lot of this overwhelm, and it's no different than you should be doing a 5-day challenge, or you should have a webinar series, or you should be doing and it becomes extremely overwhelming. And a big part of this, which also ties very nicely into number 1, is when I was working with clients throughout 2020. So I'm saying they were overwhelmed as far as, do we cancel? Do we offer a free event? Do we just move forward? Oh, that's a whole nother topic. You and I, we know we could talk about free events versus monetization. And so this overwhelm of what works best for them. And a big question is, when you're looking for sponsors or vendors and you're asking, hey, come sponsor my event, that's not where their head frame is. Number 1, they don't necessarily walk into the office recognizing, or that's not their job title. A lot of times these decision makers are the marketing or the sales directors or business growth, and they're utilizing events. And so asking them, rather than, hey, do you want to sponsor my awesome event that we absolutely love, and here's all the cool things about our event, it's more about what's working for you so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so by asking, hey, where are you reallocating those dollars? A lot of times you can leverage the digital platforms into your event and create those sponsorship packages that align without the overwhelm. And so a great example is we did an event and we had an awesome swag box, right? And we then incorporated it into our gamification into the digital environment. But what we did as the host and working alongside with the association, we picked out the 8 different items that were going in that box because we knew what could fit and what we wanted to represent that goes in line. Then we went to our top sponsors and said, hey, you get first dibs, rather than giving them the option to go shopping and have to pick out a vendor and figure out what size tumbler they want in this box. And so remembering to ease that overwhelm, and also when you're working with these sponsors and the internal teams, they want something easy, but they want something customizable. So say, hey, these are the 8 different items that we have. You get top pick, but we know that this will fit into our theme, into our box. Which one do you want your logo to go on? Rather than they were so relieved. They actually were more likely to pick a lower tier because they didn't have the time, the money, the resources to go out shopping for additional vendors, figure out they don't care what size tumbler, what's going in the box, but they absolutely want it to be that sponsor. So cutting through some of that ease and overwhelm without reinventing the wheel, not only for your team putting on the event, but also considering, hey, what's working? Great. You do a demo. Let's put that demo into your vendor booth. Great. You want to showcase and do a book launch? Let's put that into your sponsorship. That's already working for you. Let us do that and use our event as a platform to make it easy without reinventing the wheel.
I love it. It's simple.
Yeah, I was about to say, it like tracks back to literally episode 1 that we did. It was the 2 biggest mistakes. It was 2 out of the 3 biggest mistakes that people make is, and we've chatted, like you said, we've chatted on this. Patrick and I talk about this all the time. Overcomplicating it, and first they underestimate it, and then on top of it, overcomplicate it. What, out of curiosity, what is one tidbit that, and because that one right there, like the easing your sponsors overwhelm, especially in this world, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what they're sponsoring. Easing that overwhelm and just making, like, increasing how long or increasing the time it takes to make a decision allows them to ease that overwhelm. So do you have like another tip on that, or easing overwhelm for like an organizer? They come to us all the time, they're overwhelmed, they're like, I don't know where to start, I gotta have 42 booths, I don't have any speakers yet. What's one way that you how do I sell tickets? What's one way that you help people and work with people to relieve that overwhelm, or would you advise people to relieve that?
Great question. This is where I also tie in their overall strategy, and I just ask an open-ended question and say, what are you doing anyway? What is working right now? So for instance, this association, they do every summer, they do 3 webinars and a deep dive, like full day workshop before the conference at all. And they were trying to find new ways, one, to take your sponsorship package that was once a 4-day campaign. You get a 10 by 10 booth and you get logo placement, and it's a 4-day campaign. And then saying, hey, what else are you already doing? Not reinventing the wheel. And then say, hey, wouldn't it make sense? You're already doing that. So I'm not adding additional work for you and your team, but how can we tie those as touch points? And so now those 3 webinars, we can plug in, hey, come to the next webinar and get your ticket right away. And now they've never charged or monetized or even had the opportunity for those sponsors. But guess what? Those same sponsors in the fall are the speakers in their summer series. So being able to ask, hey, paint the picture, what's already working for you? Because chances are, if you're putting on an event, you're doing something online, you have a social presence, you're doing direct mail, you're doing something. How can we map that out and then tie it together so that you don't have to start from scratch and start new tactics, and you're just re-engaging what's already working, but more strategically? So that's my favorite open-ended question, saying what are you already doing? What's already on your team's plate? And how can we just migrate and integrate what's working into what you're looking to do anyway? And finding those ways to pull out and monetize or streamline and just make it more of a integrated strategy.
Right. So instead of it being over here, like events are like by themselves over here, just like completely separate from your business. How can we take it and integrate it a little bit more into the business so that it's not running a whole separate business? Because events are,
you're repurposing so much stuff you already have. So
absolutely.
Well, that's the genius in it. Yeah. That allows the efficiency.
It allows that ease of overwhelm where those marketing teams and saying, oh my, what, you already have a 30-second commercial. Let's put that on some of the on-demand sessions. Done. Great, you already have a webinar. We're going to plug that, not during our general sessions, but we're going to plug that and drive people to that 15-minute demo anyway. And so asking that open-ended question and repurposing is my number one.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think that's itself is gold. So appreciate that very much. So awesome. So let's segue this into key number 3. execute activation campaigns that align organizer and sponsor intentions. I love it.
Yep.
You mean to tell me that like some B2B company, like insurance companies, shouldn't have like some local beer brand sponsoring their event because the two don't go together? Well, that one actually might go together, but
they might. Hey, insurance, alcohol.
If I was trying to look, if I was your mortgage client, I'm just saying I might serve free alcohol, might get more people at my event.
Hey,
I know.
I mean, for that one, sure. Yeah, you gotta make sure.
Never mind. I was trying to make a joke until I realized that it actually might work. Never mind. Let's continue.
Loosen people up.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a great
P3.
topic. Yeah, so I actually have a 1-minute video. I have it on my website. I'm more than happy to share. It's 1 minute. And I really believe that 1 minute helps to visualize. So we have the host up here and we have the attendees over here. And more times than not, this is what they're most focused on, is bridging that gap and making sure that the customer experience and the attendees are taken care of. They know exactly how to attend, how to get their tickets, and this is very strong. Then you have your, what I call contributors, your speakers, your sponsors, your vendors. So we're not getting into terminology on this segment, but all those contributors, your service providers. What happens is, how can we align so this bridge is stronger between these contributors and the host? But what about down here? They care about connecting with your audience. No different than if you were to have $15,000. Somebody just says, here you go, but you have to invest it somewhere. Are you going to spend that $15,000 to invest in paid ads and LinkedIn or YouTube or Google to connect with that audience? So how can we align so that we can strengthen those relationships? And that is truly how you can keep your event sustainable, because your sponsors, your vendors, your speakers, they're in the industry. And they can be some of the loudest influencers and voices. And so how can we strengthen that so that there's alignment, but also this alignment down here, which is truly missed a lot of times, because attendees don't necessarily want to be sold to, but they do want to be served. And if we have solutions over here, how can we bridge those relationships and really find what it is and align what all of those stakeholders care about? So that's what that whole topic is about. How do we do that? What are we looking for? And again, strengthen that broken bridge that happens in events.
I really like that line of, people don't like to be sold to, they like to be served.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting perspective on the sponsor. It's a really interesting perspective on the sponsor at event. Like, because I'm pretty vocal about how a lot of conferences rely too much on vendors and sponsors sometimes, because it's like I'm walking through an event where I want to learn content and network, but then I'm just getting hounded like I'm in a street market about with pins and hats and wheels that I spin. But that's why I like that line so much, because it is understanding. And if more vendors, like if you guys are doing this at events, understand that you're not there to sell, you're there to serve. That's why I wanted to highlight that. I really like that. So awesome.
Exactly. How can we, a big part too, whether it be a vendor booth or we're actually taking that away from some of the hybrid events, is a lot of times the intention is, who is this person beyond their first name? Why are they there? And do they even know, like, and trust what it is? Is that a need? And really the intent is to have permission to carry the conversation and not just have this elevator pitch. I'm not a big fan of elevator pitches, because if you pitch too soon or you're pitching to the wrong person, guess what? Brand ambassadors exist for a reason. You could be giving your elevator pitch and that person is really a gatekeeper or really not who you're looking to talk to. And yet you're missing out on some of that opportunity. And so one is having that conversation beyond their first name. Who is this person? Where's the synergy? And could they potentially be a strategic partner? If I came to, when Patrick and I first met, right? We saw that there was alignment. Neither one of us pitched to neither one of each other, because we knew that it was a strategic partnership relationship. And too often do people jump right into their elevator pitch and they're missing that opportunity that could really blossom into a great alignment in another way.
Yeah, I think it's relationships first. Like whatever interaction you have, the first interaction, of course, in any kind of relationship, not just events, should be relationship based. And then see where it goes from there. And then through that, you build that relationship, then go through the discovery of what opportunities, if there is any opportunities to move forward in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know at least my clients and the sales directors, they would much rather less attendees, less traffic, but higher meaningful connections. And so they're less concerned. A lot of times the host, they'll say, oh, we have a subscription list of 100,000 people. Meanwhile, we're saying, well, we only want a segment. We actually only want to be introduced to a certain segment. We don't care about the 100,000, especially if your engagement is at 4%, right? And so, like sometimes the host or I see these decks that they're pitching out, and we're saying, well, we would much rather a 3-part campaign within this segment because we know that that's who we want to meet with. Can you do that? Can you provide that for us?
Would you say it's quality over quantity in the B2B world?
100%, like 100,000%, absolutely. And a great example, we had a potential sponsor. All that they wanted was to be introduced to 50 marketing professors. And they were willing to hand over that deposit, but that association was not the right event to do so. And so it doesn't sound like a lot, right? But that particular event was not the right fit. But absolutely, could we introduce them to another event that could introduce them to at least 50 marketing professors, for an example? They could care less that we had hundreds of other professors and deans and other people at that event, right? They just wanted 50. And they didn't want to waste their time kicking through a fishbowl of business cards. That's a whole nother topic of conversation.
Well, we won't even touch that business card topic.
No.
But no, that's why I asked, because like I play more, as you guys know, on the B2C side. So where the numbers are, like artists want to perform and sponsors want to be in front of 10, 20, 30,000 people at once. But that's why I was wondering if there was a different shift over in the B2B world, because we all see the mega conferences and stuff. But I'm with you. I'd rather be in front of 50 people I know that actually would buy from me than 1,000 people who won't. So.
They don't have enough time to filter through, whether it's them, their sales teams. They want to, by the time they get that handshake in person or hybrid, they already want to get through some of that. Well, who are you? What are you for? They're actually taking action at events. And events are such a great platform to move people into action or awareness. And that's a big part too, is if people are just getting to know you and you're in that awareness, it's good to know that. Where do you fall?
It's interesting. I like it. I like that.
Quality over quantity. You made a great point.
That's the way to end this show. Well, I dig it. I greatly appreciate your time today. I'm excited for Event Next. So everyone who doesn't know, once again, okay, the link right here. Okay, everybody, right now. Like if you're watching it, a handful of you now watching it, replays. Patrick, I don't know where he's pointing at right now, but eventnext.live. Tickets are free. There's a free upgrade option. That upgrade option to me is the move once you guys see what's included in that. But nonetheless, not here to pitch you either way. It's the free event at Event Next. Michelle, all three of us, every one of us on this screen are talking at the event. All three of us.
Yes,
all three of our
deep dive.
So deep dive into it. We're gonna go high level in the show and deep dive in the event. So with that being said, I appreciate your time today, Michelle. It was a super good episode. I got a couple nuggets I'm going to take away. I might steal your line that we don't sell, we serve for sponsors. I genuinely might steal that.
Absolutely. Good thing you're friends.
Yep. And Michelle, where can everyone listening follow you on social media? Where's your platforms of choice?
Platforms of choice, LinkedIn, Michelle Nicole McNabb. I do use my middle name because there's a lot of Michelle McNabbs. So on LinkedIn, Michelle Nicole McNabb, and also on YouTube. I do have some nuggets on there. I am on other platforms, but those are my go-to platforms of choice would be LinkedIn, YouTube, and follow and see where I will be next.
Yeah, because she vlogs, people.
Mhm.
I do. Yes. If you want
Vlogs.
more of the behind the scenes, that's more your Instagram and Facebook. That's more Michelle inside the events. That's Michelle and Exposed, I call it. Emily. Everything is Emily.
I feel like that's when people learn more, though. I think like that behind the scenes doing and watching people do, you can learn more from watching people do than what they say, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I was on the road for 2 weeks, and so I'm putting that vlog together. So there are some reasons why sometimes when I travel, I don't always post live. It just kind of depends who I'm with, where I am. So I do have an upcoming vlog and behind the scenes coming up on Instagram and YouTube.
Right on. Well, I love it. Well, any last words, Patrick, before we let her go?
No, I really like this one. And what's really cool about Michelle, she does put out a lot of content. So, I see it all the time. LinkedIn has been huge for you as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am in the B2B space. And it is different of the relationships and who we're working with. And, they're not necessarily making decisions the same way as Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, totally. Well, right on. Well, people, that was another episode 10, the decade episode. It's a lot. We got there. Episode 10 of Event Masters. I'm your host, as always, Dylan Shinholser. Patrick's over there. Oh, God, it's stuck. I'm never going to get it right. Michelle, once again, thank you so much, and we will see you at Event Next.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on.